Hey guys. Alright, so the video down below is from NBC News, and Tulsi Gabbard was speaking at an event yesterday during Veterans Day. By the way, happy belated Veterans Day. I forgot to mention that in my vlog yesterday, so happy Veterans Day to all of our veterans, as well as our active service members. We really appreciate your service. Tulsi Gabbard, she was speaking in front of an audience, and I am pretty disgusted by the treatment that she has gotten from the legacy media. Now, Tulsi Gabbard has a lot of far left policies. She is a socialist, but at the same time, when you look at her foreign policy, she would like to reduce our activity overseas. And I find that to be very admirable. The legacy media, on the other hand, does not. They think that this is grounds for accusing her of being a Russian asset, and that is quite disgusting. I mean, we had Donald Trump get called the same thing during his presidential run by Hillary Clinton and others. Must 17 intelligence agencies. Remember that line that was repeated over and over again regarding Russia or alleged Russian interference in our elections, and what they turned out to do. What it turns out that they did was they bought some Facebook ads, and I even have talked to some people here in person, IRL, that have said yes, voters are dumb enough to look at Facebook ads and have their vote swayed by Russians buying advertisements as well as Russians posting memes. It's pretty patronizing, of course, but these people are very stupid. So, and I think that more and more as they see what's been going on, they kind of realize, well, that was very stupid of us. But some people are still pushing that lie for various reasons, and some people are dumb enough and scared enough to listen to this and believe it. But Tulsi, yeah, she talks about reducing our presence in Syria as well as taking it easier on Iran, which I disagree with. I think Iran is a rogue state. We need to deal with Iran, and we are dealing with Iran in a very peaceful way through sanctions. And I think we can all agree that an invasion of Iran would potentially mean a very, very high casualty rate for our soldiers, as well as theirs. So we want to have peaceful resolve when it comes to Iran. In Syria, it would be nice if we can get out of Syria. I think Trump made that clear. Trump said there's nothing there for us except for sand and death. Now, a little side note here. Martin and Brenda Brodell, a couple weeks ago, were talking about how Syria, and this is insane, I had no idea about this, but Syria exports over 70% of the meth in the world, out around the world. That is an insane amount. So you really have to understand why we're there. Obviously, the CIA has wanted to get involved with the drug trade over many years, dating back to Vietnam with the poppy trade there, and then fast forward to Afghanistan, poppy trade there, and now in Syria you have meth. And of course, we had their presence in the banana republics in the later 20th century, to put a stranglehold on the coca supply down there. So the coca plant, which obviously we all know is made to use cocaine. So whenever any politician comes out, any head of state comes out and says, well, we ought to reduce our presence overseas, then the CIA, who's working in tandem with the legacy media, hence retro Operation Mockingbird, which they say is defunct, but I clearly believe. I mean, I clearly see that it's happening, and I believe that it's still going on, as do most of us. But the CIA-controlled media is going to come out and say, well, we're going to go ahead and accuse these people of being foreign assets. They're traitors, essentially, and they should hang. That's essentially what they want to say, but they don't want to say it outright. They want their sheepish viewers to actually come to that conclusion on their own, and they'll slowly dog whistle them as the days and weeks and months go on, and then eventually that's what they're going to try and do. I mean, obviously they're trying to do that with Trump. They've called him a traitor on several different occasions, and believe me, Tulsi Gabbard is going to get the same treatment as she progresses up the political food chain. You know, if she were to ever become a senator, by the way, I think if she ran against Mazie Hirono, I think Maisie, she'd get her ass kicked, to say the least. I think a lot of people would like a change, but um, we all know that the U.S. Senate is completely insane. I mean, the only sane person there, I would argue, is Rand Paul. Um, but we do need more people like Tulsi Gabbard and Donald Trump out there. It does dishearten me to see that Tulsi is in favor of impeachment. I thought that she was going to take a different approach to this, but she may just be. I don't know what her strategy is, honestly. Maybe she's still trying to kind of wrangle some of the neoliberal vote, which is very, very disappointing. I hope she realizes that what she's doing is a big mistake in terms of being in favor of impeachment. Of course, we know impeachment isn't going to go anywhere, but who knows? Maybe it's just all for show. Maybe it's all political theater on her part. I do think that she needs to change her rhetoric on guns. I mean, this is very disheartening, her being a veteran and her not taking the Second Amendment more seriously. That's very disheartening. I mean, we see this with all the Democrats. The funny thing is, the most pro Second Amendment Democrat in the current field right now has been Bernie Sanders, and he may just be saying this just to stand out from the rest of the field. But he said the other day, he said, "Oh, a gun confiscation slash buyback would be unconstitutional." But I don't know. He's been so inconsistent on guns over the years. He talked about back after Trump got elected. He said some, very valid things. He said, well, the fact that CNN covered him so much gave him more exposure. That's absolutely correct. Even if it was negative coverage, his fan base certainly liked it. It gave Trump a lot of ammo in terms of labeling CNN and MSNBC the fake news media. So you have Bernie back then. He was on Conan, I believe. He said these things. Then he also said, well, I don't think that people should own an assault rifle because I don't think that is very practical in today's day and age. But of course, he's failing to recognize the fine print in the Second Amendment. It's not even fine print. It's one of the main passages there. Shall not be infringed. It doesn't matter what you have. You should be able to own whatever the hell you want. Do I think that there should be background checks? Absolutely not. I think that you need to look at the Second Amendment and say that it shall not be infringed. I would say the only time where you shouldn't be able to buy a gun is if you are a convicted violent criminal. So if you're guilty of either murder or rape and you get out of prison, I don't think you should own a gun. Besides, you're probably going to get a gun if you are a criminal. If you intend to commit more crimes after you get out, you're probably going to get it from an illegal arms dealer or on the black market. So, yeah, I hope that Tulsi would change her tune on that. That would be very refreshing. And I think that if she were to change her tune on several things, she could actually really set herself up to be a JFK type Democrat. And we haven't had one of those for a long time. When JFK ran, he was talking about a lot of really radical things in terms of um, uh, people coming from his party. Rather, he stood out from the rest of the people in his party by saying, well, I want to reduce our foreign intervention overseas. I want to cut our taxes. I want to have peaceful resolve with the Russians and the Cuban Missile Crisis, which was thankfully averted. I would say the one blemish on his record was the Bay of Pigs invasion. That was a complete disaster, and that was a CIA thing. So you have to kind of maybe look at Cuba and say, well, what drugs do they have there? What resources do they have there, which we really need to get our hands on? And maybe it's just a matter of location. That goes with Iran being being the possessor of the Strait of Hormuz, or at least the shores of the Strait of Hormuz. It's a very strategic point in terms of trade and military. So, yeah, in closing, Tulsi Gabbard, she does stand out from the rest of the Democrats. She ought to be the nominee. I think her and Buttigieg are probably the two most viable candidates. Bernie Sanders is too old. Andrew Yang doesn't have any experience, and interjection here. I think his ideas suck. That would never fly with the American people. Andrew Yang has his own little cult following, but it's not big enough. It's not a populist following. It's a cult following. Um, so I think the Democrats are making a huge mistake by not um, backing Tulsi Gabbard, because she seems to be the most popular Democrat amongst all the demographics there in the voter base of the Democrats. So uh, they're probably going to hand the election to Trump. Trump's probably going to go up against Warren, and Warren is going to end up all flabbergasted or flummoxed on stage and end up making a very big fool out of herself, because I mean, she has been doing this for years with the whole Pocahontas thing and her lying about her getting fired for being pregnant. Well, she wasn't fired for being pregnant. She was unqualified. That's why she got fired. How she got the job in the first place is beyond me. She probably cheated her way into that job, as she has done pretty much her whole entire life. She's cheated her own fans. I mean, she used to be a Republican back in 1996, so she's a very dishonest person. You need somebody like Tulsi Gabbard going up against Trump in order for it to be a fair competition, but we all know that's not going to happen. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. God bless, and I will see you guys later.